Being born to a Belgian father and an English mother got me thinking that it makes you descendant from one culture known for beer and the other for drinking. So, just a great combo for a human being. You'd also be hard-pressed to find two countries with worse colonial histories. But you don't know that yet, because you're a baby who grows into a kid who talks funny. Nailed it. What more could you ask for? The only frustration growing up was that in England you were that family from Belgium, and in België waren jullie die familie uit Engeland. But allow me to show you the moment, a discovery so potent it's changed everything. Your Nexus event wasn't drumming.
We're going to the horse competition, and Timmy's gonna video us all.
The way I kind of fell into the filmmaking thing, I loved Star Wars, I loved James Bond, I love big blockbusters, and I learned how to position a camera because I was making fan films in the garden. We would put those things online. And what I realized was that after a while, it wasn't just us watching the films. I realized that those 100 views sometimes belonged to people who I'd never met.
For you, the digital Wild West circa 2007 was...
Stole the camera?
Punk rock. There was no content.
Nice.
It was an advertising project you uploaded without your high school's consent.
Hey, yay! Hey.
Zero editorial. Here's what you made after you watched a clone tutorial. It was whatever you and fellow weirdos were looking to make. Art for art's sake. Most of it, total schlock. Punk fucking rock. There's so much you don't know yet.
Before I knew it, I started actually making connections on the internet.
But ignorance is bliss, and you are having...
way too much fun with this. I'm recording a video. That was my mum.
I fell so in love with making films that I ultimately decided I was passionate enough about this to go study it at film school. So I moved to London.
You start with a degree that teaches you to appreciate the history of visual art. A sound decision, which kept your feet on the ground. But
there wasn't this kind of learn by doing spirit I found. By this point, I'd realized that people weren't going to watch a 1 hour something film if I made it. Hey Mum, do you want to watch my terrible James Bond ripoff? She'll say, dinner, What happens when you say, hey, do you want to check out this 2-minute sketch? People might actually give you a shot.
So you make more content, and whether you're aware or not, it pleases the almighty algorithm, which expands your reach. For instance, you share your hot take on the Oscars.
Yeah, I think The Social Network should have gotten the Oscar over The King's Speech.
Nailed it. The wave was in its infancy, but content creating undeniably changed the industry. It wasn't just about chasing views, though, admittedly,
You snooze, you lose.
and it also served as a good introduction. Because
In the meantime, what you're learning is production, you're learning how to deal with actors, you're learning how to shoot things, you're continuing to perfect your craft.
and it all led to something pretty cool.
I've been accepted into this school, so I'm moving to America in August. So
This was the dream. You took a real swing, because according to yourself at the time, you wanted to challenge myself to be in an environment where people weren't going to give a shit about the YouTube thing. They didn't. Nailed it? Life doesn't stop. You graduate, become unemployed, family members get married, friends get married, you get married and keep the cats and the divorce. The world goes completely off course, but somehow you didn't.
This idea that you're just gonna not make stuff and then one day you're gonna direct a feature film, that logic never made sense to me. It's the equivalent of not practicing your guitar and the first time you're gonna play it is in front of a crowd of people.
cut. That's a wrap.
Are you ready for a secret? Dad handing you that camera wasn't actually some kind of Nexus event. He just wanted footage of himself riding his horse. Becoming a filmmaker wasn't divine intent. When you were drawn to this life, I wish I could have prepared you for the strife of not getting to do what you love to do most of the time. And that's fine, but I would have also warned you that for every miracle you did manage to see through, you'd think it was rough because you weren't good enough. It's true. I'd love to say you should share that individualism, regardless of whether it pleases the almighty algorithm. But apparently that was kind of the problem, as there is objectively no longer a need for humanity to produce anything. Period? So, is all of this going to be time well spent, or were you just making content? Well, I beg your pardon? I thought you were just making...
Fan films in the garden.
And you may well look like a fool, but you do this because it's... Nailed it. You can't control whether it's a hit, and even if you knew people weren't going to give a shit, you still wouldn't quit. You'd pick yourself up off the floor and you'd go back for one more. Though there's no shame if one day you don't want to do it anymore. You can always go back and say... This is still punk fucking rock, so don't worry if most of what you make is total schlock. Before you cross over into the abyss, I suggest you keep having
Way too much fun with this.
and please remember that every time you get to say.
That's a wrap!
Afterwards, don't forget to take care of yourself and have a little nap. Then wake up and write another draft, because all you can do is try to
Affect your craft.
Arguing about this stuff is time you waste. Good or bad, it's just taste. And even though I should practice what I preach, I still think
Social Network should have gotten the Oscar over the King's Speech.
why doesn't matter when it comes to sharing your voice, because at the end of the day, it's just a choice. It's only ever a story you're telling yourself, then throwing out there and asking, anybody else? But nobody knows anything, so why not take another swing? Shoot, dance, act or sing. Share whatever it is you have to bring, and humbly ask the audience, I don't know,